Good evening again, everybody. So it's exactly 7:05, and I'm just going to start now. I want to believe that we all can see my screen. So I'm already sharing my screen, and um, the title page is on. So today's class is for general training writing test. I'm just going to go straight into the slides. Hopefully, you all can see my screen. So, before I can do that, I just wanted to again, uh, give you a mock shot of what this exam is about. So whether it's reading, listening, writing, or speaking, um, so whichever one whichever one you are preparing for, you need to know what is required of you. Listening, you're having 40 questions, four sessions, and you need to answer questions as the recording is being played, and the recording will be played only once. You have the reading test where a number of passages will be given to you, and you are supposed to answer the questions as you see them coming. Um, then speaking, which is more like an interview where you need to see where you sit face to face with an interviewer who is a very nice person and will make you very comfortable. But you need to be prepared also to know what kind of questions will be asked of you and how you can comport yourself in that space. But for today, my focus is on um, the writing test. So, writing test, you are given two tasks. One is a letter, the other is an essay. You have 1 hour to attempt the questions that will be asked of you. Um, the first one is a letter, and you're expected to write a minimum of 150 words. The other one which is an essay, a minimum of 250 words, which is once you understand how to plan and how to attempt the question, it's not that difficult. It's all about planning to attempt the question in a very systematic way. So for today, I want to really hone in on this too and explain the types of letters that might come your way, and also the types of essay, what you are expected to do. But first and foremost, just to start with, if you're asked to write 150 words, what that means is that if you're writing 10 words on a line, then you're looking at approximately 15 lines to complete for 150 words, minimum of 150 words. So you don't, once you write 16, 17 lines, and you're writing an average of 10 words per line, then you are okay for tax one. For tax two also, if you target 10 words per line and then you're writing 25 lines, you're almost as good and ready, in terms of your answering the questions. So the first thing is I want to bring to your attention is the word count. Now you're asked to write minimum of 150 words or minimum of 250 words. So remember certain things, certain words and how they are being counted. So if you have words written, if you write things written in words like 6 million, it's 2 words. But if you have something like 90% written with the symbol, then it's uh it's 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 2 words. Sorry, it's 1 word. But if you write 90% and then the percentage in words, then it becomes 2 words. So just take note of these things in terms of the word count, so that you are aligned as per the instruction that is given to you. Writing is the only test that is very subjective, and what I mean by being subjective is that um, somebody is going to mark your script, and they don't have the ready-made answer or prepared answer. So they're going to mark you based on what you have written, not because there is a ready-made answer for the question. So they're expecting you to use your own words to express yourself to answer the question. So that's very important for you to remember. It's very subjective. Subjective in the sense that um, it could be, you have to ensure that you are as clear as possible because it's subjective. Somebody might just pick up your script, and because he's having a bad day and you're not writing very well, your handwriting is not legible enough, is not patient enough to understand what you've written, and that could affect your score. So it's quite different from reading and listening, where um, the answers are already known even before the marking is done. So there is a prepared answer. There is what is expected for in terms of the answer. So, but in this case, there is no expectation. They just have a marking guide, which we will look at in the next slide. The things that they are looking out for in terms of your writing. But so you have to be able to express yourself in a very clear and concise manner, because your ability to express yourself is important. You can convince the examiner to give you better marks the way you write, the way you present your answer. You have the ability also to score more marks. So this is another aspect of the test that people don't know. So people see their result and they want to ask for a remark. The chances of maybe a mistake was made in your reading or listening or speaking is quite low, but in writing there's that higher probability or higher chance that if you apply for a remark, maybe you can get an upward review of your mark. So there's always that big possibility there. So don't be afraid when you're doing the writing test. You have that possibility because it's a very subjective thing. What they do is when you apply for a remark, they will send it to another examiner somewhere else who didn't know about what the previous person has done or what marks is given to you. So that means that the person can look at your script from a totally different angle or perspective. So just bear that in mind and don't be afraid. So the first thing, like I said, you want to ensure that you are very legible in your handwriting. If an examiner is having a bad day and is struggling to read your essay, I mean, you know what that could mean. Like, it might just not rub off well, with the examiner, and that could affect. So it's important that you make sure you're legible in your writing and express yourself as clear as possible. Ideas have to be expressed in a way that even a lay person can understand what you have written. Now, like I said, I'm going to share with you what are the marking criteria, because you need to know what they are looking out for. Since they don't have a prepared answer in terms of the questions they've asked you, you need to know what they are looking out for. So the first thing is your ability to achieve the task that was given to you. So if they've asked you to write a letter to your friend telling her about, or telling him or her about your new job, that is a task. So they are looking at that. That's the first thing. Are you able to answer completely the question that was asked of you? So sometimes questions can come in, you can have sub questions, like sub questions in a single question. So a question can say, explain something about a situation, give possible solutions. That's two questions in one. So your first is explaining the problem. The second part of it is suggest possible solution. So that's the first thing. They want to mark you based on your ability to answer the tasks that have been given to you completely. Don't miss out anything. The other thing they are looking out for is coherence and cohesion. So what we mean by this is that when we say coherence, your ability to make sense, like your conversation, your write-up must follow a kind of logical sequence. That's coherence. You must make sense. Like if a lay person picks up your idea, they should be able to see from the first paragraph to the second paragraph, like that. There should be some kind of flow, a sequential flow that you definitely know that you are communicating an idea and you're doing it in a very systematic or a logical way. So that's coherence. The other one is cohesion. So that's the ability for you to be able to loop all the paragraphs together and sentences. They must be sort of having a kind of relationship. Each sentence is leading to another one. Each paragraph is leading to another one. We'll look at how you can make this cohesion possible. So that's that about coherence and cohesion. The other thing they are also looking out for is lexical structure. So this has to do with your choice of words, the kind of words you're using. Are you communicating well with the words you're using? If you wanted to use, say for example, you wanted to talk about an impending disaster, and the word is disaster. But then you are using a totally different word. Maybe you're saying, instead of disaster, you're saying that an incident is about to happen. That's not being specific. So you have to know the right choice of words when you're writing the exam. So that has to do with lexical structure. And then the fourth one is the grammatical range and your accuracy. So this has to do with the way you form your sentences, the way you construct your sentences, the way you use your tenses. So if you're writing to a friend about a birthday party you attended in January, you know that you have to be using the past tense to refer to what happened at the party. So those are the sort of thing they're looking at when it comes to grammatical range and accuracy. So you see from this that it's not just about grammar alone. There is your ability to answer the question that has been given to you, your choice of word, the way you are able to link all the points together, which is cohesion, and then coherence, making sense, even for a lay person to understand exactly what you're saying. So these are very key. These are the things that you need to remember when you're preparing for this exam or when you are in the examination hall. Now, like I said before, you need to answer all aspects of the questions. This proves to the examiner that you understood the question. For example, on the screen here, I have a question here which says, describe, just hold on a second. My screen has disappeared. Okay, so I'm back on my screen. Now, this question says, describe the situation of unemployment and underemployment in your country. Explain how the problem stated is affecting young college graduates. And then it finally says, suggest possible solutions to the problem. Now, if you look at this is like 3-in-1 question. The first part is describe the situation. The second part is saying explain the problem, how that problem is affecting young college graduates. And then the third part says suggest possible solutions. So you can see it's 3-in-1 in terms of what you have been asked to do. So my advice is you pick on each of this as a point. The first point is describing the situation of unemployment and underemployment. The first thing is you must be able to know or define what unemployment is and what underemployment is. So unemployment is the state of not having job, while underemployment is when you're not working enough hours. A standard working hours probably like 40 hours a week. But if you have somebody working for less, maybe for 20 hours, for 15 hours or 10 hours a week, and that's the situation of underemployment. So you need to know you must be able to define what the situation is about, what the terms are, and then you proceed to explain how the problem is affecting young people. And then finally, you must be able to suggest solution. That's what it meant when it says answer all aspects of the question. So don't stop at just defining or describing the situation. You must be able to state how the problem is affecting young college graduates, and then finally the solutions, possible solutions. So these are the things you should remember, that you must be able to answer all the questions completely. Now, another point is task length is important. So when the question says minimum 150 words or 250 words, always remember that they are looking out for that. So like I said before, there's a trick about it. You can just write 10 words. If you're able to write 10 words on a line, you have 15 lines, that's already 150 words. Same with 250 words. If you're writing 10 words on a line and then you have 25 lines, that's already 250 words. So you have an idea of what already you have been able to sort of conceptualize how long or how lengthy your essay or your letter is going to be. So again, don't copy out the task question. There's no point, because if you do that, they will deduct the number of words in the question from your word count. So if your total word count is 150 and you've used like 30 words to copy out the task question, that's already like 150 minus 30. So you are not up to the total word count. So it's important, it's a waste of time, and they're even going to deduct it from your word count. So there's no point. You're allowed to use your own words to describe the question. There are certain kind of questions that in your introduction, you might need to describe what the problem is. So it's fine. You can use your own words to do that. Now, I want to go into task 1 now, which is letter. So there are at least 4 types that you need to be aware of. The first one is the complaint or request letter. The second, job application, personal letter, and formal business letter. Each of this, there are techniques to writing them. The first part is you need to have an opening, a greeting. So if you're writing a complaint letter, for example, you need to start with an opening, a greeting, dear sir or dear madam. If the name of the person you're writing the complaint or the request letter is not given, so you use dear sir or dear madam. But if the name is given, then you can address the person directly. You can say dear Tunde or dear Angela, whoever it is. The next thing you need to do, you need to explain why you're writing the complaint letter. So, dear Angela, I'm writing to you about a book I borrowed in the library that I am unable to find certain information I needed in it. So that's how to start that, the first paragraph. The second paragraph then focuses more on what the complaint is about. So what happened? What was the problem? What are you unhappy about? You bought an electronic gadget, a TV, and you've only used it for 2 days and the TV started malfunctioning. So you explain in details what the problem is and what you did when you discovered it. So what did you do? You probably went to the manual, you did all what the manual says, and you're still not able to figure out what is happening. So you state all of that. And then you also tell them how you feel personally. If you feel upset, you're not happy, state all of that. That will give you, that's like the second paragraph in your letter. Then the third part, the third paragraph will be, what do you want the management or the person you are writing the complaint or the request letter to do for you going forward? That will be your third paragraph. Then finally, you need to have an ending, something like, I look forward to hearing from you. That's the fourth paragraph. Or maybe, thank you in anticipation for your response to my complaint, or thank you for favorably considering my request, if it's a request letter. Now, again, you need to close out properly. If you know the person you're writing to, then yours sincerely is appropriate. Yours sincerely Tunde, yours sincerely Kumi. But if you don't know the name, or if the name has not been given in the question, then it has to be yours faithfully. Number 2 is job application. Again, this also, there's a format to it. You need to start with an opening, the same way in number 1, where you need to use either dear sir or dear madam if the name is not being given, or if the name is being given, you can directly address the person. You write briefly about, so the first paragraph is about the greeting, and then writing briefly about the role you are applying for. I'm applying for the job of a graphic artist in your organization. Then the second paragraph will be what are your skill sets, what certifications you have, what experience you have. So you use your second paragraph to write all of those things. Now, the third paragraph will be about why you are interested in the job, your motivation, why you think you can fit well into the organization. That's the part where you talk about you being, a team player, how you can contribute to the corporate goals, the objective of the organization, and things like that. So that's where that comes in. Then finally, your fourth paragraph, you should have a closing. Thank the person in anticipation, yours sincerely if the name is given, yours faithfully if it's not given. So the example is what I have shown here below. Yours sincerely, Kuni Acting. That means the name of the person I was writing the application letter was given in the question. But if it's not given, then it will be yours faithfully and then your own name. So that's that about job application letter. Then personal letter, this is where they can ask you to write a letter to your mother, your father, um, your friend, your colleagues. They can ask you to write a letter about how you spent 3 months isolate the lockdown period, what you did during your lockdown period. They might say write a letter to your best friend explaining the things you did during the lockdown period. So that's it. You need to start, of course, the name of your friend, Christy, Benga, whoever. I mean, Chinedu. Start with that. You can just, add some spice to your letter. Something like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I've not written you in a while. Work has been very demanding for me." All those sort of nice, more like adjectives to your writing. Then in that same paragraph, you need to state the purpose of your letter. Like, I'm writing to tell you about my new job. I'm writing to as per your interest in what I've been doing so far. I want to share with you, my most memorable period during this lockdown we've gone through. So that's that. You take care of that. Then the second paragraph is you now talking about the specific task I was giving you in the question. So it is to write about about your upcoming wedding plans, whatever it is. So this is the part where you do that. So you can use 2 paragraphs or even 3 paragraphs here to in details to write all of those. Then finally you need to close. So I mean, this is an affable letter, so you don't have to use things like yours sincerely or yours faithfully. No, I mean, you can just say your friend or my kindest regard with love. Yours, nice complimentary phrases. You could use that because this is not this is not a sort of a formal or informal letter. So I mean, it's not a formal letter. So it's an informal kind of letter. So you're allowed to do that. Then the fourth one, which is the formal business letter. This has to. So this is quite similar to the number one, where you're writing a complaint or requesting something. You need to have an opening DSR if the name is not given, and then next will be the purpose of your letter. Then the second paragraph, you try to explain in detail. You can write 2 paragraphs here, explain exactly what your the letter is all about. Then give the kind of response you expect or make suggestions as to the outcome of your letter. So this is where you focus on that. And then finally, you need to have a formal ending. I look forward to hearing from you. Yours sincerely, the name is given, otherwise yours faithfully. So this, in a nutshell, sort of captures what is expected of you. Now, what I expect you to do then, therefore, is try to picture this thing. So an opening, the next paragraph should talk about my request or complaint, or why I'm interested in a job, things like. So just picture it in your head and then go for it during the exam. We're running out of time, so I need to kind of rush a little bit. So again, this is still on task one. Understand the type of letter before you start writing. So is it a complaint letter? Is it a request letter? Is it a personal letter? So then try to jot down the ideas for the task. Have a plan for it. Like have a sketch where you can just say, okay, I'm going to discuss this, I'm going to discuss that. Like itemize the point you want to talk about. That gives you sort of a skeletal framework to work with in answering the question. And then when you're done, obviously you need to read through for grammatical, spelling, and punctuation errors. So again, you can be you can be very creative in this type of question. So you can make up things to suit the situation and the task that you've been asked to write. The second type of, or the task two, is the essay type. So again, you need to remember that for your essay, there needs to have an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. So for your introduction, it will be one paragraph. Your body, you make 2 or 3 paragraphs, or even 4, depending on what the question states. And then finally, your conclusion you need to have a conclusion, 1 paragraph. So now these are the type of, here I've listed the types of essay you can be asked to write about: argumentative, leading argument, and situation kind of essay. So really, I'm very mindful of the time. We have less than 10 minutes, so I'm just going to see how I can rush through this. But I will send the slide to our emails. So I have some emails already, but if you're joining from another medium apart from the email subscription, then you might need to drop your email so I can share this with you. But basically, for the argument type of essay, you're exploring pros and cons, reason for and against. You're supposed to support one side. You begin with an introduction, there is a body, and there's a conclusion. Now, in the first paragraph, which is introduction, you're going to state both sides of the argument, the for and the against. Okay, don't state your opinion yet, just state the argument. State both sides of the argument in your own words. Then the body, that's when you start focusing more on so on the body now, you explain both sides of the argument, but you start with the side you are against. Then you conclude with the side that you are for. So the next paragraph will be about the side you agree with. You explain why you are taking that position, and this will naturally flow into the conclusion where you just summarize the points you made in the previous paragraph, which is your paragraph 3, where you revealed or you stated your opinion on the side you were taking. The hidden argument is like argument, but it's a bit hidden. So a question can come up like to say something like, to what extent has democracy changed the landscape of governance in Africa? Basically, what this question is saying that is an argument for or against the effect of democracy on governance in Africa. That's just what it's about. It's an argument whether or not democracy has changed the landscape of governance in Africa. So you can state both. So once you understand that hidden argument, then you can go ahead and treat it as if it's an argument where you state both sides, and then you now in the next paragraph you now focus on the side that you are you're supporting. The situation kind of essays where a problem can be given to you, or a scenario. So you expect to describe that situation, the reasons behind it. So for example, you state the introduction, which would be you describe the situation of the problem. Don't give your opinion yet. You go to the body. That's where you start talking about, what you think about the situation, depending on the question you've been asked. So for example, like I said, describe the situation of unemployment, underemployment, and then how the problem is affecting young college graduates. So just possible solution. You are going to attempt to do that in the body of that essay. And then finally, you need to conclude by summarizing the point that you were given. So again, notes for you: understand the type of essay before you start writing. You jot down the ideas for the task, just like you did in the letter. You write based on the plan that you have made out, or the sketch you made out. Write in general. There's no point, putting in personal experience in this sort of essay. When you're asked to give solutions, advice, recommendation, make sure you do that. And of course, when you're done, ensure that you read through it for errors. Again, remember that if you have been given a particular topic, make sure you're writing on that topic and don't deviate from that. So that's that I have. So the other thing I wanted to say is that, so if you so what I would do is I'm going to send an email to Ross. So I'm open to guiding us on your letter writing or your essay, whether it's letter or essay. So I will send the question to us by email. So try to attempt to write to answer the question. Time yourself for 1 hour. So don't use more than 1 hour. Write both the letter and the essay to me. So I will then look at it and try to critique or mark and then give possible suggestions as to how you can go about writing it better. So I will do that for us. So just be on the lookout for my email. So in my email, I'm going to share the questions with you. So you just need to attempt it and then send it back to me so I can mark it and suggest to you possible ideas on how you can improve it better. So again, you need to keep practicing over and again when it comes to letter writing, or be confident enough when you're writing your this writing test. It's not rocket science. Once you practice well enough, you'll be fine. And if you can structure it the way I've said it, have an introduction, have the body, then have the conclusion for the essay type, and then for the letter type, understand how to sequentially arrange it. And another point that you should note is you learn how to use words that can give continuation to your thought path of your thought process. So things like furthermore, in addition to, however, nevertheless. So these are important words or phrases that you need to remember them. In my email to you, I'm going to put together a list of words a list of phrases that you can use and that will improve your writing capability. So right now I'm going to unmute us. We have less than 2 minutes on this call. So I think that's all I have for us. So it's fine. If you have a question, just in less than 1 minute, you can just do that right now. Let me try and unmute. Well, I don't think we have enough time for this, so it's fine. Just to say that I will send the slide to you by email. So if I do not have your email, meaning that you didn't subscribe through email, then please drop your email in the chat box. Then I'll send it to you plus the question, and then you can come back with me. Okay, what I'll do first is I'm going to first of all send you an email asking whether you want to participate in this correspondence, where I will send some questions to you and then you try to answer it. If you then agree, then I'll send a question to you. So I don't just want to send blank email thinking that people are going to respond to me and I don't get any response, and I'll be very odd. I wouldn't like it. I'm just trying to do this because I'm passionate about it. I want people to pass their test, and for whatever reason that you're doing the test for, if you're trying to immigrate or you're trying to go abroad to study and stuff like that. So please, I'm going to send you an email first asking whether you want to participate. So if you then indicate that you participate, then I will send the question. So thank you once again.